Okay, in this lecture we're going to import data from an Access database and bring it into Excel. And I'll just give you a look at the database that we'll be bringing it from. Here's our Access database, and we're just working with this employees table here, and we're going to pull this into Excel. So first we're going to close this database, and then we're going to go to our Data tab, and we're going to say Get Data, and go to From Database and From Microsoft Access Database. Click there. And we click on the database that we're looking for. And then it brings up the Navigator pane here, and you can see this is the main file folder for our Employee Contacts Access database. And then these are the different objects within that database for us to choose from. And we want to use the employees table here, so we'll go ahead and click on that. And you can see it gives us a preview of it, and we can scroll to the right to see the whole thing. And it looks good. Then we're going to go ahead and click on the drop down on Load and go to Load To. And then we get this little Import Data dialog box asking how we want to view the data, and we can go table, we could open it in a pivot table, we could open it in a pivot chart, or we could just create the connection and not open anything. But in this case we want to open it as a table, and we can choose the existing worksheet or a new worksheet. We're going to bring it into the existing worksheet. You can select an area where you'd like to put it. You can either go in here and manually adjust this, change that to B, and we could change this to 2, and then it will drop it here. Or we can get rid of that and click this arrow, and then we can select B2 and then maximize it again, and now it's going to that cell. Then we click OK, and there's our complete table imported from our Access database. Okay, now let's open up our Access database again and go back in there and make a change to it, and I'll show you how the link or the connection works. So we're going to change something so it's kind of obvious. We have all these 307 phone numbers. Let's change one of these to 703 just so it stands out. And when we hit enter, it's updated in our Access table, and we can save it and close our Access database. And that brings us back to our Excel. If we click into our table and then go to Refresh All, and we go find Bob Blake, you can see there's our 703. So we now have a link from this Excel spreadsheet to our Access database, so any changes that happen in the Access database will be able to be updated in here. And you can go here to the properties, and you have some options for modifying the data formatting and layout, and then you also have choices on what to do with the rows and cells when you refresh the data. So it's automatically set to insert cells for new data and delete unused cells, which means that your table here will automatically expand and contract to fit the data that's coming over from Access. Okay, and then if we go to this button here, we can get into more properties, and you can set how often it refreshes. So you could set it to refresh every 60 minutes or every 5 minutes or whatever you want to set for frequency there. Or you can also set it to refresh when you open the file, which is a good idea. And then this sets it so that when we click Refresh All, which is what we did a moment ago, it will refresh the connection as well. Oh, and also you have the option here to change your query name. So if there's a more meaningful name for this, like maybe we'd want to call this Weekly Employee Update. You could write a description as well, and having a descriptive name and a helpful description makes it easier for you to manage your connections when you're working with your workbook and managing the data that you're bringing into the workbook. So you could add a description there, and then you go ahead and click OK, and then OK again. And now we have the properties set for this import connection. So that's how you connect your Excel worksheet to an Access database to bring in data from Access.